Showtime.
Showtime. Showtime.
Ooh, showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime!
Showtime.
Showtime!
Showtime. Showtime.
Ed Berliner, the fastest show in sports.
Greetings, true believers. Welcome back into the fastest show in sports. I am your host. I am your ringmaster, Ed Berliner. Sitting next to me, the gentleman with the wonderful forehead is Mike Wise, who never seems to get his camera exactly right for those of you watching on the YouTube channel, but he's working on it constantly, which is good. We have to give him that technical need every now and then. And over on the far side, my good friend, formerly of the Orlando Sentinel, George Diaz joins us today. He is now traveling the world. We see pictures of him everywhere on social media, of him swimming with dolphins, swimming with alligators, swimming with large narwhals. He is absolutely everywhere. He is America's traveling former journalist. How you been, George?
I'm one with nature. Thank you. Good to be here. And I'm one with nature. And good thing that was a technical thing with Mike moving all over the place. I thought those gummies were kicking in a little earlier than I expected, but good to be here, my friend.
Mike, I hesitate to say this, but I think George may have a point there about the gummies. I'm not quite so certain. might have something there.
I think you have to take LSD. I think you have to take LSD to do this program.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well,
no way you can get through it sober.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, a little LSD. As I keep telling people every time I've hosted a show anywhere, I said cocktails are optional, baby.
There you go.
If you want to do that.
Segue into that.
Yeah, how'd that work?
Aaron Rodgers, our first
that
be a perfect segue, right?
No, how did LSD work out for Brian Wilson, huh? No, I don't think so.
Oh, yeah.
That's too soon, man.
Too soon?
Come on.
Too soon?
Yeah.
Too soon? Okay.
I don't know. The last time I saw the Beach Boys, I saw them at Hard Rock in Hollywood, and this was maybe a couple of years ago, and it was some of the original Beach Boys as well. But there was Brian Wilson sitting there at the keyboard. He never moved the whole show. It was a zombie where I swear they had some sort of electronics that were moving his fingers, but he looked awful. I mean, he just, all the light was gone out of his eyes, and he barely spoke. It was terrible watching him deteriorate in front of our eyes, a guy that was that much of a musical genius. But
well, it's amazing to me. When we were talking about George last week, we were talking about our first concerts, and unfortunately, mine was Sean Cassidy, and I had to own it. But I think my second concert was my first girlfriend, Kathy Stanley, in Hawaii, Eva Beach, Hawaii. We went to a triple bill at Aloha Stadium in Honolulu. Heart, Blue Oyster Cult, and the Beach Boys. And the Beach Boys were it was a weird concert, but it was awesome. It was packed. It must have been 50,000 people. And we got there early, and sure enough, the Beach Boys were there. And so, I'm 15 years old, whatever it was, August 1979. And literally so I Googled it the other day, and I said, was Brian Wilson even on that tour? And it said, Brian Wilson performed with the Pure Beach Boys for the last time at Aloha Stadium.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
you're there for history.
Unfortunately, it was not the last time. Well, no, fortunately or unfortunately, whatever it wasn't the total last time. I mean, I don't know how many times they actually got back together again when it comes down to all these reunion tours and reunion concerts and everything else that they've had. But I don't know, George, did you ever see the Beach Boys in concert?
I've seen a lot of groups. I'm trying to think. I don't think I ever saw the Beach Boys. I do have a Brian Wilson story, and connecting the dots to NASCAR. I know that's a crazy union of two worlds.
Wait a minute. You're going from the Beach Boys to NASCAR?
Yes, because Brian Wilson was like one of those honorary starters, those ceremonial deals that they have at every Daytona 500.
Yep.
So he was there, and Andrew Booth, God bless his soul, was a PR director there, and he rolls out Brian Wilson, who again is almost like a zombie. And I remember he was asked some questions, and all the answers were like yes, and there was like 1 or 2 word answers, and after about 3 or 4 questions, it was over. The shortest press conference I've ever been to.
Yeah, he was. I mean, it's a terrible thing to say this, but Wilson was almost catatonic in those
yeah,
last
catatonic's a good way to put it.
10 years. He just barely even moved, and it's amazing to me that when I saw him in concert, he was still able to actually play. And I guess I don't think he was so much singing as he was just sort of mouthing the words and just trying to stay up with everybody else.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of the way it felt. So
yeah, very much so.
And
like
speaking of catatonic, for those of you joining us on the YouTube channel, Mike Wise has returned.
God only knows where I'd be with internet. God only knows where I'd be with internet. You want to start the show over? Do you want to start the show over, Ed?
No.
Okay.
No, we don't. We
right.
plow straight
This
ahead, man. It's the era of technical ease. We put up with it all. We keep going. Look,
Okay.
as I've said, Mike, the people who are listening on audio podcast have no idea you disappeared. None at all.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
See, and not only that, but through the magic of editing, it may seem as if you were never here. Who knows? But we'll go ahead.
Okay.
And that could be the entire show, Mike.
Yeah.
The Ed and George experience. I'm just putting it out there, Ed.
Could be. I'm an excellent editor. Be very careful where you go from here. It'd be fine. Let's go ahead and get started.
So, George.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, George.
My first appearance, aren't I?
George.
Go ahead, Mike.
George, I went through my Facebook feed the other day, right? The fastest show on sports takes up 89% of my Facebook feed now. And most of the clips, I'm not talking. It's just Ed and some other guy. And I'm just standing in the middle going, God, Ed Berliner's a smart guy, isn't he? Oh, my God. I can't believe this show. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Ed. Did you want to start?
You are talking.
You keep coming back, so that sounds to me like it's somewhat of an abusive relationship, and you should seek professional help.
I think that's an excellent idea. I think for those of us who have ever been in the media, and that counts for the 3 of us here, we all should still be on some sort of professional help.
Correct.
For having gotten into this damn business in the first place. All right, let's get to it now. NBA Finals, there we go. NBA Finals, Oklahoma now with a 3-2 lead in the series. I got to tell you, I mean, and we've talked about this before on the show. I'm not the biggest NBA fan. I watch it because I want to be informed as to what's going on, and I'm trying to get involved in it. I'm trying to get excited about it. But I got to tell you, I realize there are basketball people who are going to tell me that, Ed, that was a very exciting game. It was a great Game 5. It was all these things. I got to be honest. It was a good game. Oklahoma played good defense. Indiana didn't show up. Halliburton was hurt. But what am I missing? You guys really got to tell me this as a non-basketball full-timer. What was I missing in that game that I didn't see? And George, because you're new to the group here, I'm going to let you go ahead first on this one.
Well, here's the problem with that segue. I am in your camp. I've not tuned out completely, but in terms of, and I've said this to a lot of people, in terms of sports, I still know my way around, but I'm nowhere near as tuned in as I was before. Maybe it was, you do it for so long for a living. So is it compelling? I suppose so, but I'm not dialed in watching every single play. I think it's interesting, though, that you've got obviously 2 very smaller markets in play, and still you can obviously contending for a title, which may or may not make network executives happy. But in terms of me riveting drama and all that, I've checked out. I think Mike probably the most appropriate person to answer this question at the moment.
So then, Mike, where is the riveting drama in this NBA Finals? It shows up occasionally, but for those of us who are not basketball nuts, it just seems to be the game moves on and one team plays well and one team doesn't. I'm missing the drama.
Yeah, well, according to my sources, pesto and marinara, Adam Silver has disrespected the NBA again. I get paid $20 million a year for that. Look, I want to say right now that basketball is my, that's where I made my bones at the New York Times. Um, I played in college very poorly. I was the guy that, like, basically the coach was like, "Wise, we're down 20. You can't hurt us. Go in." At a very small college in Hawaii, and then a junior college in Sacramento, where Scott Brooks, God bless him, once scored 35 on me. But I guess what I'm saying is I love the game too, and I love the game like nothing else in the world. And my son plays now. And I watch because it's dramatic. I mean, for me, it's entertaining. It's my favorite sport, especially during the finals. But I liken this, if I'm putting myself in the shoes of you guys and anybody that doesn't tune in like I do. It reminds me kind of when Jordan left the NBA for the second time in '99, and what you had left was a lot of unlikable characters who were going, like Sprewell was going to the finals. New York loved Sprewell. The rest of the country didn't, because he choked his coach and he wasn't. He was kind of persona non grata as somebody who the fans liked. The Knicks became an exciting team to me because I was covering, but it was like the Knicks, the number 8 seeded Knicks, and the San Antonio Spurs of Spock, basically Tim Duncan, who had the personality of a washcloth and wasn't like at the time had not turned into like this wonderful power forward. I think it was his second or third season. And David Robinson was basically carbon dated by then. And so nobody really liked or knew the Spurs either. And so it was Spurs versus Knicks after the Jordan Jazz final, after the Bulls Jazz finals. And it just didn't feel like the right. And I feel in this, like Halliburton, as he develops into a new star, and Stephen Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's, he develops into a new star. They're sort of like pushing the Steph Currys, the LeBrons, the guys that you got used to seeing all these years aside. And it's probably good for the league, but it's growing pains because, one, it's two small markets. Nobody's, you saw the ratings, nobody's watching. And two, it's just, it's a different world. The NBA is in a different time, and people are going to have to get used to these guys, and it might take them a couple finals.
Well, but that's just it. It seems as if to me, and again, the non-basketball guy, but the sports guy who's been in it my whole life. You mentioned Michael Jordan there, and Latrell Sprewell, yes, and others. There is no marquee player in this NBA Finals. You can give me SGA, you can talk about Halliburton, you can talk about guys having great games, but there's no sizzle here to this. Maybe it's the franchises, maybe it's the players. I don't get that sort of, here's a guy I got to see. I got to tune that in because I'm going to see this guy have a great game. I'm going to see him run the game. I'm going to see him Showtime, whatever you want to call it. Maybe maybe it's just the old guy who wants to see something from the past, but I don't get that I don't get that pull, Mike.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, George, you could speak to it because you've been to some huge events. And George and I know each other from back in the day. I think we met probably early 90s while he was covering the Orlando Magic. And he was writing columns, and it was Shaq and Penny when they first started. Yeah. It was like the new blood. They were enthralling, man. They even had a fan base that included Urkel. Remember Urkel?
That was it.
Jaleel White was there.
Yeah, when the Magic went to the finals against LA, I laughed at the star power, because you've got all these celebrities, Nicholson, everybody else in LA, and we have Urkel, and I forget who the hell else we had, but it wasn't much. We had Robert Earl, the guy who owns the Planet Hollywood Empire guy, and that was about it.
Yeah, well, but I want to
a buzz.
See, that's the thing. I want to watch the games, and I want to feel the buzz. I want to get into it, and I tried. Man, I tried in game 5. Okay. I really tried, and just didn't happen.
Here's what the problem is. We're watching a new game now. I call it the Steph Curry Chuck from the parking lot game, where a guy could have a layup underneath, and any of us that played elementary basketball when we were in first grade, the coach said to you, hey, if the guy's underneath the hoop, you pass it to him for a layup. Guys don't do that anymore. They throw it to the guy underneath, and he throws it outside. Could be statistical analysis tells him that we need to hit the three, and if you shoot the three over 40% for the game, and you make it like that, that's a better shot statistically because these guys can shoot from there so easily. But the main guy in this series who's going to win the MVP, he's like playing with the game that time forgot. He's got this mid-range SGA. Gilgeous-Alexander has this like nice mid-range game. He gets to his spots on the floor. You don't measure his vertical with a Metro card, but he's not some leaping athletic marvel, and yet he's so strong and he's so crafty. And yet we don't care about that. We want to see the three, and we want to see a guy to the rack.
Well, but
that's why Halliburton in that way, Halliburton is fun to watch. He just keeps passing the damn ball.
Well,
Shoot the damn ball,
I don't see anybody on the floor right now. How do I put it? I don't see anybody on the floor playing a little Showtime here, playing a little street court basketball every now and then, making it up as they go along, creating a play, creating something that's happening.
You're not watching enough.
Well, yeah. Okay, then that's fair to say, but I don't see imagination on the players right now. I don't see imaginative offensive play, and I could see it last night with Indiana. When the Pacers turned the ball over 197 times, it just didn't seem to me as if they were trying to do anything outside of what you just talked about, the norm of the game. Take it, find your spot, shoot. Take it, find your spot, shoot. And to me, that's boring. I mean, I would much rather watch another sporting event. And I'll tell you what, sometimes I'll turn it over, and I'll admit it, I'll turn on a WNBA game every now and then. And every now and then, I'll see something a little inventive. I'll see something a little fun. I'll see something that comes out of nowhere. I don't see it in the NBA anymore. WNBA is actually sometimes a little more fun.
Yeah, and for me, the college game was obviously we had the Gators win the title here, but it's much more for me, and Mike's the basketball expert. Just fun to watch. It was more fluid. There was more passing, teamwork, all these things that you look for in a basketball for a basketball team in a basketball matchup. And I found that much more compelling than any NBA game I've watched.
It just almost seems like it's become rote. The game will come out, the NBA game will come on, and it's the exact same back and forth. That's what it seems. And I don't know what the answer is. But I will tell you this, it comes down again to this thinking, there is no marquee name in the NBA right now. There's not one name, and we've talked about this before. You could say that there's still LeBron James. LeBron James is at the end of his career. If you want to look at guys right now, good young studs coming up, there's nobody that excites me. It's like I want to say, hey, I want to go buy a ticket to go see this team because this player is coming to town. Or this guy is lighting it up right now. Mike, I don't see it. And I've watched a little basketball this season. Not enough, of course, I admit that. But I didn't see anybody that really lit me up. Anybody said, oh man, I got to watch him again. It's like, okay, basketball's here.
I'm gonna take this in a different direction really quickly, and you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to say, you can totally shoot me down. The problem is our industry, and it's not fully the problem, but look, I worked at ESPN for 3 years till they didn't renew my contract. I know a lot of those guys. I like them. There's some working professionals, but there was a pageantry involved, and it included the media before, and it's going to include
And it's going to include the internet, which will snap down on Mike every now and then. He'll be back.
Here you go. Yes, the internet it wins. Oh, there we go again. So
The internet from Panama will always be an interesting thing to sit and watch. But I kind of know where Mike's
he's
going
using,
on all this, and it's
yeah,
it's the hype because George, it's still the hype that we help build up, and it's the hype that ESPN gives it, and it's the hype that Fox gives it. It's the hype that others do give it. So, Mike,
Do you see the power?
I
Do
understand
you see
where
the
you're
power
going.
that Stern has?
Well, but it's not Stern anymore. It's Adam
David
Silver.
Stern did that from the grave. He got rid of me for a second.
Go back to where you were.
Look, well, what I was saying was, I literally like I know all these guys. I like Wilmot. We're friends from way back. We worked at the Washington Post for years together. Stephen A., as polarizing as he is, it's amusing to me that he became the face of our industry because everybody mocked him and thought he was a joke. And yet he worked his ass off, and he got to the point where even the network executives is like, well, this guy's not super smart, and he's not exactly thoughtful, but god dang, he yells a lot. And people like that, and people like that arguing. So we're going to give him this kind of money, and the people that actually know what the hell, you know. And Stephen A. knows the games. He's just out there. There was a segment where he was arguing with Jason Williams on one of his shows about Giannis, and he was saying that Giannis is a disappointment getting one. But they argued this topic, and Jason Williams probably really shot him down with his argument back. They argued this topic like it was Iran and Israel. It's freaking sports.
Come
Have
on,
some
Stephen
levity.
A. Smith is a
They do these
screaming buffoon.
They do these panel segments are insufferable. It's like the producer comes to them and goes, "Hey, this is the hot topic for these are the 3 segments we're gonna do." Shut up. Shut all of you. Get off the air.
Scream at the
I
top
don't
of his
care
lungs
about
every
you.
single
Bob
day.
Watson, you're lousy on TV. I'm sick of you. Like, I can't watch these freaking panel shows. I watch the NBA panel shows less than I watch the fastest show in sports. God damn it.
this is Mike, old man screaming at the clouds.
He
Okay,
really
good job,
is.
Mike.
I got to tell you, I'm thinking
This
I'm
is my
watching the
get
clouds
off my
behind
this
him
is a
right
get
now.
off my lawn. Get off my lawn moment. I can't watch these people anymore. The whole notion of pregame and postgame and halftime it's noise. And it's not just all the gambling ads. It's not all the, like, hey, second half now, these are the prop bets. The lines have changed. Like, I put money on a horse race, the Belmont Stake, just for fun. I'm tired of the gambling ads. I know all these things are here to stay. I don't like them. And
Well,
I think
okay,
because
but
if
wait
we
a minute,
really,
Mike. What you're talking about here is the consistent tearing apart of a sport, and that's what it has come to because there's
no,
so many shows out
no,
here.
that's not what I'm talking
Wait a
about.
minute. No, wait a minute. Hang on. Let me finish.
That's
Because
not what
you've
I'm
got
talking
all
about.
You've got all these shows, including ours. But what a lot of these
Yeah.
shows do is they try to dig in every single little nuance of every single little thing that they can go and talk about and make an argument about. And the game doesn't need that. It's not that intricate. You shoot the ball, you pass the ball, you score. And there are certain things that you can find. But I mean, we kind of look at things on a wider scale here. But you've got all these people that have to nuance and scream down on every single little thing. That gets boring after a while. The fans going, I know what this is. I know you don't know what it is. Unless you played the game, you don't know what it is.
Right, but it's the fact. It's not just the when you say what you're saying is what I'm saying is and George and I follow each other on Facebook just like we do, Ed, and we have some of the same political leanings. And it's not even political leanings. It's just being a decent human being versus not being a decent human being. And when you see all the crap going on in the world, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not saying sports is, like I said, sports should never be the toy department more than it is now.
But that's
all it should be is the toy department. I don't want to hear another legacy, like a player's legacy, a journey to get here. That stuff is bullshit when you look at what's going on in the world. So why when I don't want to say stick to sports because there's so much going on through sports where you can turn it into a prism for so much in life. But what I do want to say is I'm so worried about my kid's future. I'm so worried about what the hell's going on with the world. I don't give a shit about this unless I want to see the game.
Well, but again, and George can certainly speak to this as well. This is the toy department. I mean, I heard that years ago when I got into
But we don't treat
television
it
in
like
Miami.
that.
It's exactly what they said to me. Ed, you're in the toy department. You're in sports. It's not important. It doesn't create any social welfare whatsoever. It doesn't make a difference in anything. Now, that was before we had things in sports like racism, sexism, drugs, and a million other things that wandered their way into sports that became social issues more than anything else. But from the game itself, maybe that's my point. When it comes to things like the NBA, I just want to be entertained. I don't need to sit there and have these experts tell me every single nuance of the game. I don't care if it's hockey, basketball, football, baseball. Let me sit back and enjoy the game. And I think the sheer enjoyment of the game is gone.
True, but I think there's the bigger picture too, and you guys know this better than I do, is that hey, there's a lot of programming that they need to fill. So you fill it up with people screaming at each other. And there's so many not only ESPN, NFL Network, NBA, whatever. There's just they've got to fill all these slots. So what do? They get three so-called experts, and they start blasting away at each other. And it's just, to me, I'm with Mike. I tune all that nonsense out. There's no, it's not that I'm like a purist or whatever, but it's just noise. It's just noise. And I don't need, we've got enough problems already in this country. I don't need any more noise in my life.
Well, the phrase that I coined a long time ago, and I've used it here on the show before, is contrived controversy. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what the most important thing is in news, sports, in every single show that you have, is to create whatever it is, find something and focus in on it and make that the controversy. Now, there are those things that should be talked about because they're controversial in nature when it comes to sports or anything else. But creating it, making it up, that's what people like Stephen A. Smith do. All they do is take something stupid, inane, ridiculously tiny, and they blow it up because why? Mm-hmm. They can scream loud enough. They have the platform to go ahead and scream loud enough, and they get the ratings, and people want to hear it just because he becomes a clown at that point. That's really what you're doing. You go from contrived controversy to clown base, and that's where people like Stephen A. Smith are. I mean, this guy's just missing the makeup. Put the floppy shoes on him and put the big red nose on him, and Stephen A. could do the same thing every day, and his ratings would probably improve.
He's just a symptom of a larger problem. And it's that at no point, like for instance, my wife's like, why don't you get a job? You don't have to just work on this biography, this book you're working on, you can get a job. And I think I tried to get in touch with the guy because they said the Seattle Times had a columnist opening. And it was paying almost no money, but like the guy I didn't even get him on the phone. He was probably they're looking for someone younger. And I'm like, you don't even have to pay me attention. You don't have to, with my career, all you do is call me and say, hey, we're looking for someone younger. You got any good ideas? Like the fact that so I basically wrote the guy back and I said, God, this would have been a perfect job for me in 1994 when I had no gig. And like, I wrote him this back. I wrote this letter back to him. I said, what are you in the APSE, the Associated Press Sport? You go to these conventions, and I go, I don't even remember the guy's name. I said, look, the problem with your industry right now is, one, you don't pay anything. Two, local newspapers are dead because of people like you that can't even reach out and make a call. And three, if you had me covering the Kraken and the Devils on a May night, at 61 years old, I'd just put a gun to my head and shoot myself. And so I don't care. I don't freaking care anymore. And so what I'm saying is,
the show does not condone violence in any way, manner, shape, or form. Go ahead.
No, at no point in my career as a sports journalist, and probably George as well, at no point do you have to suspend reality and play mind tricks on yourself to believe what you're doing is important. You have to you have to go so deep and like I look at these guys covering games now and I go, how do you cover it? Like, maybe I'm too plugged into all these, what's going on in the world too much, but how do you cover a game when the gym is burning down around you? That's what's happening right now in the world. And so if I'm going to go
Yeah, but
watch
we
sports
need that,
or enjoy
Mike.
sports, that's all I want to see is
But we
good
need that.
athletic
Come
competition
on.
to take me away.
Come on, we need that though, don't we? I mean, we're talking about all
We
the
need the
crap
game.
that's going
We
on.
need the games. We
Yeah.
need the games. We don't need people to pretend it's important.
Well, but wait a minute. But it is important to those who want to root for it. But it's not life altering. That's the point that it gets to.
Right. Well, I always say there's
Yeah.
sports hate and real hate. Sports hate is fun. You know, you're a bum, whatever. You hate the guy. You don't go to his house and kill him. And so that sports hate is healthy. Real hate, which is out there today, is scary. But the levels of passion and like everybody's turned into a Philadelphia sports fan in this country all of a sudden. Like
That's
they've
true.
got nothing else in life. It's their only
Well,
identity. And it's like, I don't want to deal with you if that's who you are.
Yeah, George.
yeah. Well, remember, fans is short for fanatical. So we are fanatical, hyper speed at this point in life. And yeah, you're right, Mike. There's a lot more things, and I deal with that reality every day of worrying about the future of this country, my future. It's just, and so it's hard to avoid. It's very hard, and we're dovetailing here a bit, but it's like I don't want to hear people screaming about who's the best point guard in the NBA when I'm worried about traveling overseas and getting popped as a naturalized citizen. Somebody's going to ask me for my cell phone, and who knows, I might be in Guantanamo in 24 hours.
Well, wait a
So
minute.
that's
Hang on. But don't we need that then? What you're talking about? Because
Yes, we need to deport George Diaz. We do need to deport George Diaz.
Yeah.
We're working on that.
There you
George
go.
doesn't know
Thank
it, but
you.
ICE is going to be breaking into his door any minute now because I happen to call him.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's another story.
Yeah, I just sealed the deal now. If somebody takes me away, though, the ratings will skyrocket.
You did. There's ICE right outside your door right now. But
But
no, man, don't we need this now? Aren't we at a point right now where we need just the games, just the sport,
Yeah.
just the fun of it all more than ever before? Because we are faced every
levity.
single day. We wake up, Israel's starting a war, America's starting a war. There's poverty everywhere. There's people losing their insurance. There's people going after politicians simply because of the party that they have by having guns in their car and writing a list to go after them. In all of this, it is so overwhelming that we need that sport. We need to be able to sit back for a couple of hours and just watch a couple of guys run up and down the court, skate up and down the ice, do whatever, just to get away from it. I mean, sports right now is we need sports now more than ever. I hate to, it almost sounds cliche-ish. I get that, but we need really just sports now more than we ever have before, just to get away from the bullshit.
I agree. But it's how it's presented to us. It's how it's presented. I just can't deal with the seriousness of it all anymore. That's why I love the TNT show that's going to ESPN. Is that like you have four guys that are authentic. They don't have, they probably have some topics that Ernie Johnson has to go at, just like you have topics that you wrote to us that we haven't touched on today. But the thing is,
that's the beauty of it all. We go wherever we want, baby.
Exactly. And so if more people were allowed to be organic and authentic and speak, and just talk about what's funny or what's light in respect to what their subject matter is, I'd watch it more. And I can't anymore. And so I do. I end up watching the games, and I cringe for my business. At one point, I thought, "Am I jealous because I'm not making this money?" No, I don't want that job anymore. I like writing books. I like being on TV occasionally and yelling at somebody, but in a way that's like stupid and silly. Not like I'm really not like I care. I care who wins the Stanley Cup, but I don't care I don't care about it like whether I care about a friend being deported,
It's funny,
And that's
but
what the problem is.
I was watching. If there's one thing ESPN has done magnificently over the years, it's their 30 for 30 series. Because those documentaries are brilliant, they're well written, they're beautifully researched, and it gets away from all of the carnival sideshow of ESPN. And I was watching one the other day there was a 2-hour presentation on Vancouver and the riots in Vancouver after the Stanley Cup of 2011, when the Bruins won, the Canucks lost, and they ripped that city to shreds. And it wasn't just the first time they'd done it. They'd done it before. And there's so many people there trying to justify it. Well, boy, I was really stupid when I was young. Boy, I should have left. I shouldn't have stood there in front of a burning car and put my peace sign up and told everybody what a great time I was having. Boy, I was young and stupid. Of course you were. But for God's sake, is that your excuse for it? But anyway, just the fact that it shows that there are people who take this too seriously. Stop taking sports so seriously. It is the toy department. It's supposed to be there for fun and giggles. And quite frankly, when we are confronted with the player who's involved in gun charges, the player who's involved in sexual assault charges, the player who's involved in saying something incredibly stupid and naive on social media, yeah, we got to cover it, but it's not the end of the world, right?
No.
And it's, yeah, I mean, there are issues in sports that deserve the cover, deserve the kind of animus and anger that that should be allowed and appropriate. I mean, Jerry Sandusky at Penn State, Jerry Nasser at Michigan State, all the awful, the child abuse sex scandals. But I'm not going to get outraged anymore about a Big Ten commissioner lining his pockets. It's a joke.
I think
But
at
anyway, I know I've taken this show down in the gutters. You can get us back on track.
No,
man.
no, it's all right. It's a conversation that needs to be had, and I don't mind having it at all. The one thing that always catches me, though, is there are always those things that we're looking at to fail in sports. That makes the greatest discussion ever. And that brought me to the NFL this week, because there are 3 stories that we are going to get beat over the head with every single week of every single day of the season coming up, and it's going to happen. First, it's going to be Shedeur Sanders. If Shedeur Sanders succeeds, then he beat all the odds. If he doesn't, it's the media's fault and the NFL for being racist towards him and ruining his career. Aaron Rodgers, the old man, comes out with a cane and a walker onto the football field, becomes the first guy ever to play with an aide and an assistant behind him on the offensive line. And if he succeeds, he beats the odds. If he doesn't succeed, people hated Aaron Rodgers and he shouldn't have been there in the first place. And then Dak Prescott, holy God in the morning, I don't want to hear another person tell me that it's time for the Dallas Cowboys to win a Super Bowl and Dak Prescott is the guy that's going to do it. He hasn't done it yet. He's been sitting there for how many years now, and everybody talks to us that Dak Prescott is going to lead the Cowboys to a Super Bowl. Gentlemen, I know it's going to happen. To me, those are the 3 stories that we are going to hear over and over again. And frankly, I think it's all hysterical. To me, it's all just fun entertainment at this point, because all 3 of those stories are just complete bullshit.
But that's what it is. It is entertaining, and there's a camp that wants to see him succeed. All three of these guys in a camp that wants to see them fail. I'm all in for the epic meltdown, by the way, and especially with Rodgers. I mean, let's face it, Rodgers is not a guy who is likable by any stretch of the imagination. I was talking to Ed earlier, and there was this clip, one of those. I looked up the signing and reaction to the signing, and there was something on Twitter. It was awesome. It was a movie clip with I've got to look here with
Kevin Nealon. It was Kevin Nealon.
Yeah. Kevin Nealon, and he was talking. There was an office meeting, and he said, last night I had a dream where I dreamt I was a dove, and then I dove into the water, and I merged with the dolphin, and we were one. And he goes, I have a feeling this is going to be us, people. We're going to have a great year, and that's kind of encapsulates the whole psychedelic vibe that Rodgers has, but beyond the psychedelic vibe, he's got an egomaniacal vibe. And if I had to pick one wish list, would be for it to be an epic failure.
Look, let's be honest. If Aaron Rodgers actually wants to do anything that really becomes historic and fun, look, he's in Pittsburgh now. So why doesn't he just emulate a former Pittsburgh sports star? He could be like Doc Ellis. He could be out there going and playing the game actually stoned to the bejesus on LSD, and maybe he'll throw for 400 yards. I mean, now that, if Rodgers did that, that would fit perfectly, and maybe I might start liking the guy. But until this point, I can't wait to see him fail. He's an ass clown.
Yep.
Yeah,
His
he
family
is.
like, you know.
Well, Brett Favre, I mean, he's basically Brett Favre in training at this point.
Oh,
Like I said, he went from the guy that everybody loved and wanted to replace Brett Favre, this kid that never got a chance, to the diva too. And he's just, yeah. I mean, come on, Aaron. Like I said, getting him as it's not going out and getting a free agent. You went on an archaeological dig as the Steelers, and the guy. The guy's carbon dated. I mean, he's the only person in the NFL that still has a Jesus Christ starter jacket. I'll be here all week, by the way. Go ahead. But
you will be. Nice,
but I
nice
get yeah, I can't stand him. I can't. Nobody can stand him. He's anti-vax. He's friends with Pat McAfee. Yeah, I want to see.
Family
I
hates
hate
him.
Aaron Rodgers with. I hate Aaron Rodgers with the passion of 1,000 white hot burning suns. Uh, yeah, no, that'd be great. What's the second one?
Well, no, wait
Dak
a minute.
Prescott.
George wanted to add something there.
And-
George, you had something on Rodgers?
Yeah.
No, actually, I was he compared him to Brett Favre, but at least I got to give Rodgers credit. He hasn't built a college fund to build a volleyball.
He hasn't built the state out of its
facility for
tax
his
money to
daughter.
basically put it in his own
Yeah.
pocket. Yeah.
So, I give him credit for that. He's not quite there yet, but, his career is still, he's got time to make that happen as well.
But let's
We'll go from there.
let's make sure we add this up. If Aaron Rodgers fails in Pittsburgh this year, and let's turn this into some sort of a story, Mike Tomlin should be fired immediately if this team goes in the toilet, because Tomlin is a guy that basically makes the decisions at the end of the day. And I get it. There's not a lot of great quarterbacks sitting out there. There's only serviceable guys sitting out there and maybe some young talent that you can look at. But if the Steelers go in the tank this year, it's time to end Mike Tomlin and get him the hell out of Pittsburgh because he failed. I mean, you're telling me you can't do any better than Rodgers? Really?
There wasn't much out there, as I recall. That was part of the problem.
I get that.
No, I agree with you. But it seems to me, obviously, Tomlin, now I don't know how many years, he's been there forever, but he seems to be Teflon no matter what happens. And the team is always kind of good enough just to let it slide for another year. But certainly that team does not have the nucleus, I think, to compete for a title.
But if Rodgers fails, and to your point, Tomlin's been there a long time. I don't have the exact years in front of me.
But Mike Tomlin has better job security than most Supreme Court justices.
See,
it's ridiculous.
And there's a problem with that, because if Rodgers fails this year and the Steelers go in the tank, it's because Tomlin set them up for failure by not making the right decisions 5 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago, 2 seasons ago. You still have to lead up to what it is today, and Tomlin's a guy that makes the decisions. You got to take that Teflon off this guy. Now, if they succeed and Rodgers gets him in the playoffs, huzzah, he gets another 25-year contract. But I don't see that happening. Aaron Rodgers is toast,
I'm surprised.
Man. Come on, he's done.
Yeah, he's done.
Yeah, he is. And I don't know why. I mean, they had to move on from Russell Wilson, but I think Wilson gives them a better chance to be more competitive. And the other thing, you look at guys who are kind of approaching their expiration date. Peyton Manning and Brady come to mind, but those guys still had enough juice left, and they had a much better supporting cast with Brady in Tampa and Peyton in Denver to win those titles. That's not happening in Pittsburgh.
Well, even with a guy like Russell Wilson or anybody else, you don't have all the off-field distractions that you've got. I mean, just in itself, all of the crap that Rodgers brings with him, and that's going to drag down a team all season long. I mean, hell, that's all you're going to be hearing is the stories. The first time Aaron Rodgers goes on a Pat McAfee show again and blabbers some more bullshit, then that's going to be what everybody is talking about and not the Steelers. And if the Steelers then suck, and if they're just basically a bad team this year, the whole franchise is going to be wrapped up in that. It's all going to be about Aaron Rodgers and his nonsense.
Yep.
So, that's a fact.
I don't care about Dak Prescott, totally disagree with anybody that doesn't root for the great, the one, the only Shador Sanders. I love that kid. I have gone from hating him to loving him. And you know why? You know why, guys? I saw a little clip on Facebook when I was going through Facebook Reels and I had no life except to wait for the show every week. I went through the Facebook Reels and I got to one where Dion and Shador was a little kid, and Dion was telling him, I love you like my other sons. Oh my God, it was so precious. And all I kept thinking was, how did that kid make me irritated years later in life? He's such a nice kid. I think, I kind of do root for him only because half the country hates him, and which they have good reasons to hate him and his dad. But the people that hate him because they're black and he's the young kid that's a little showy, that's all racism. So I hate that kind of crap.
Yeah,
So
but I don't hate
but
him.
I'm rooting for
I just
I'm
don't
rooting
care.
I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him just because I want to be different. And
Oh, you're different, Mike. Trust
and
me. We already know that. You've got
all
that
right.
knocked, buddy.
Yeah, you've proven that in the
But
last
I don't know what it is. And also Shador is greater than Jesus, Gandhi, and Mother Teresa put together. So let's just lay it on the table.
There you go. Yeah, I'm kind of ambivalent about I like Dak and Sanders. It's like, whatever happens, I just want to see it play out. But it always it's that drama. But we talked about the NBA and people kind of trying to create this drama. At least here you have, whether they are over the hill or haven't quite reached their potential like Dak or some controversial newcomer, these guys, they suck up a lot of our space and time and energy talking about them. But there's a reason. It's not contrived. These guys are definitely polarizing in many ways. So it's fun to talk about, and it'll be fun to just either root or just, it's like Mike, have the house burned down. Either or. I'm good with either.
Once again, Ed, it took the conclave 2 days to select a pope. It took the NFL 3 days before they got to Shadir Sanders. That is anti-DEI right there, my friend. That is anti-DEI.
Well, see, but that's another point about Sanders. Everybody takes him to say it's racist. The reason that he didn't get picked in the NFL draft in the first or second round is because people don't like black people. Come on, it's a National Football League. If you're going to win me a title, they'd pick somebody who was a zebra. Then they wouldn't give a damn at this point. And the
by
fact
the way,
of the matter is,
I want to point out the blatant racism here. You don't have a black guy. I guess a Hispanic guy is okay, but obviously Mike's total white bread. You two guys to my other side are average white boys, if you will. But
I'm sick of hearing this whole thing about it.
Show. Let's face it.
Racism in the National Football League. That's why we didn't pick Shador Sanders. Complete and utter and undeniable screaming out of the air blow bullshit. I mean, there's no proof to it whatsoever. It's just people looking for an excuse. That's all.
No, that's that. Is Tebow still out there? Can we get Tebow back in? For all those conservative white people to cheer him on. Because he just needs a chance, Ed. He needs a chance. That's all he needs.
He does. He needs that chance.
Into another
we have to give him that chance. It's our responsibility. Yeah. The third one on that is, and I want to make sure we just get on this a second, is Dak Prescott. I am sick and tired of hearing about how Dak Prescott deserves to win a Super Bowl and he's going to lead the Cowboys to the promised land. First of all, I despise the Dallas Cowboys. Yes, I'm one of those people who sits there. I root for them. Every time the scoreboard comes up and I see the Cowboys are losing, yes, it's a good day. The Cowboys are going to lose and Jerry Jones is going to be all pissed off again, and it proves that he sucks as an owner and a general manager. I love it every single day. But Dak Prescott's had his chance, guys. He's talented, but he hasn't won spit. But we're going to hear this again because there's this whole Dallas Cowboys America's team stuff, which we know is false. They're not America's team anymore. We all know right now as we sit here that it has to be true at this point that the Miami Dolphins are America's team. Sorry, I got something in my eye. See, and look at that. And Wise picks that moment to leave, George.
Another man down here, and then we're left to carry the weight. Man, this is hard, baby. I thought I was just going to be a supporting actor. I didn't think I'd have to carry this whole show.
You got to carry it, brother.
Man. I'm coming.
You got to get in there and carry it. Oh God!
Anyway,
all right.
So I don't know. Let's go back on topic. I guess the thing is too. It's not so much Dak. I kind of feel sorry for him some ways because it's a whole Jerry Jones egomaniacal bullshit that you deal with every year. And obviously middle. Yeah. So I think that's a big part of it is people just love to see loudmouths and egomaniacs get shot down. I don't think Dak fits that profile. He just happens to be the most high profile player on a very high profile team. Am I out too? Oh,
no,
wow.
You're
I'm
back. You're good.
I was out
You're
briefly.
good.
But he's the high profile player on the high profile team. But is he good? Yeah. Is he the great guy who's going to lead them to the Super Bowl? Probably not. But there will certainly be. It opens up. You see those memes at the end of the year, the nacho year, Dak, where he's got a bag of Doritos and that kind of thing. Yep. The whole thing. So just be prepared for more of that. Be prepared for Mike Wise perhaps coming back at some point in this segment. Maybe he's just needed. He got very emotional. Maybe he needed to go get some water.
Hold on a sec. I'm going to bring you back in here. There you go.
Maybe he needed a shot of tequila. He needed to cry.
He's in Panama, dude. Look, we got to make sure we hit this one for this week because you brought this up, and I think it's something that I have always wanted to talk about in a sports show, and it never comes around. For the life of me, I can't understand the desire, need, want, excitement, whatever you want to call it, to see the hot dog eating contest at Nathan's every 4th of July. There is nothing. I got to tell you something. It's almost as if it makes me sick every time I see it. I mean, it makes me just unhappy that there's something going on here and that I see these people destroying all this great food. That's the thing that gets me.
What does he have, like 78? That's a world record, 71, whatever it is. I don't know what's going on here with the feed. Okay.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry, man. Just keep going. The technical side makes it, but the technical side gets I just don't get it. I was a very
tanned Mike Wise, by the way. You had the best tan ever, Mike, for about 3 seconds, and then it all went away again. And you became white.
George, I don't get it. Mike, I don't get it. This propensity that every single year people can't wait to see the hot dog eating contest. I want to throw up. I want to vomit every time I see it. I'm thinking to myself, all of that food that goes to waste that could be feeding somebody else, and they're just shoveling this crap down in, and they're not even eating the hot dogs. All they're doing is shoveling them down all in one piece and then waiting until later when Mother Nature reclaims them. Come on.
By the way, if you ever go to Costco, they do have a great hot dog deal for like $1.50. You get that and a Coke. And that's where my hot dog fandom that's my high point for that. But here, you're missing the bigger point.
Tell me the bigger point, please.
The bigger point. We do some research now and then. So Chestnut missed a year because he had a deal going with Beyond Foods, which makes fake burgers and, the soy, whatever it is in, and hot dogs. So I'm thinking you talk about Chestnut being a complete turncoat on this whole deal. Americana, hot dogs, all that great stuff. And he's signing up with the enemy, people who make fake hot dogs. And I can speak from experience because my ex-wife, and not a reason why we broke up, but she was vegetarian and she would have we'd make these fake hot dogs. They taste awful, Ed, okay? Give me the sodium, the nitrate.
That was a reason. That's a reason for divorce court right there. I would have got.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's been litigated already, so I guess I can't. Yeah.
I'm
just saying that Joey let us down.
Sorry, I would have gotten custody of the dog and the hot dogs, the real ones.
But it's just, what is this? First of all, competitive eating is not a sport. I mean, this goes back 100 years, and I remember they started this thing. the International Organization of Competitive Eating or something like that. And then it went to burgers, it went to chicken, it went to ice cream, it went to everything else where people are just shoveling the food in their mouths as fast as they can. And like I said, it's all going to come out in a wash in about 30 minutes anyway. It's not a sport.
It's
Ed,
like
you haven't obviously been to the same press boxes that Mike and I have been in when it comes to competitive eating and sports writers, because they can pack it in, my man.
So there was a at the Meadowlands.
This is awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Why has this been trying all day? I gotta tell you, between his phone service in Panama and everything else, it's insane. Mike,
it's incredible.
Stick around, buddy.
I know, but
you
know
that
what?
rotary dial-up thing. Did you subscribe to that Trump internet thing with the phone? That's the problem.
Well, that's what it is.
Fished out the 5K, and this is the crap you're getting.
No, Eric Trump sold me this phone deal, and I signed up for it, and I'm shockingly, it's a grift. I had no idea about these people. I thought they were genuine, and so anyway, there was a guy when I first started. I got my job at the New York Times out of the blue in '94, saved my life, saved my career, and I'm covering the Nets at the Meadowlands, the New Jersey Nets at the old Meadowlands. And there was this guy, great guy. His name was Eric Shepard, and he would get 2 or 3 of these monster hot dogs in the press room every day before the game. Well, of course, the press room before they moved to Brooklyn was named the Eric Shepard Press Room, Memorial Press Room, because he died eating those hot dogs. He ate so many of them, he died. And so every time I see, I'm like going, I'm going to have one hot dog today. It'll be a Chicago dog dragged through the garden with tomatoes, pickles, and onions, and all kinds of other vegetables, so I don't eat all pork. But yeah, I mean, anybody who wins in competitive eating award, it's like winning, the AVN porn award. It's just for something. It's for something going in your orifice, one of your orifices that probably shouldn't be there. And the bottom line is okay, great, you somehow got that in your orifice. Wonderful. Here's the award. Are you kidding me? 100 hot dogs? And they just put water on the bread and they just put them down their throat. The only guy I ever rooted for was Kobayashi, because I did not understand how a small, almost nubile Japanese man could get this many hot dogs in his belly. Joey Chestnut is a slovenly slob. I understood that. But I could not understand how Kobayashi, the one guy who basically took apart Joey Chestnut a few years, I did not understand how he got that many hot dogs in his belly.
But see, what you've struck on is one of the points I want to make, the hot dog eating contest. They water it down. The buns are nothing more than just pretty much disposable at that point. It just becomes a glom. I want to see them eat the hot dogs with mustard and relish and sauerkraut, and I want to see you eat the son of a gun.
Ooh,
I want to see that go down. Now, if you eat 100 of those, you got me caught in maybe something that's fun. But otherwise, all you're doing is you're shoving tube steak down your throat.
Let's have that throwdown at Costco where they sell real hot dogs. Damn it, that's and you get the drink too for $1.50.
Oh my God!
I'm trying to get some sponsorship deal with Costco here. I don't know if it'll work out.
Well, but don't say that to Mike because he's in Panama. They don't have a Costco in Panama, so he doesn't know.
No, but guess what? Guess what? They have a Price Mart, and Price Mart, Ed, is offshoot of Costco.
Another point that the internet did not want to hear.
Another point that nobody wants Mike to say. No, but if you're gonna do the hot dog eating contest, do it. I mean, do it with real hot dogs. Stop with this nonsense about just shoveling it into your throat and then basically puking it out or pumping it out later. I don't get it. But you do, I got to say, you made a very good point about the fact that there really is nobody better at a food eating competition than certain members of the media when it comes down to being at a sporting event. And you and I have seen it. I'm not going to mention names, but you've been there too. We've all been there at one time or another when you go to a press box and there's always the pregame meal And you got, whether no matter what time of day it is, there's that one person that's always there, first to line up. And then it used to be at the Dolphin Stadium when I covered them a billion years ago. It was always the hot dog line. You could smell them. The hot dogs walked in, and there was always that one guy sitting on press row, and I can see him to this day. I know exactly who he is. Who was
Tell
just
me who
going,
he is.
who was going, they bring in the hot dogs? No. I don't want to. I like the guy. I like the guy. If I didn't like him, I'd mention his name.
Come on. Ed, what's he going to do? Fire you? I mean, come on.
There was a Super Bowl party.
I will kill anybody right now. I'm at the point where I don't care. That's what this show should be about, Ed. We don't care. Just kill him, whoever it is.
We do care, Mike. We care deeply.
It's Ira.
Your internet provider
It's
doesn't
Ira
care.
Winderman. Is it Ira Winderman?
No, it was not Ira.
No.
All I will say is this: the people that I have seen destroy press box meals, by and large, were always the radio people. And I was working radio at the time. I was stringing for about 27 different networks, and I was doing television at the time. I never saw a newspaper person be the first in line for the meal, the pregame meal, or the hot dogs. But every single time, it was 2 or 3 of these people from radio, and they were stragglers and hangers-on, and they were the first one there to get that free meal, brother. George, you were talking about a Super Bowl party?
Yeah, Super Bowl party, and they ran out of jumbo shrimp, and there was one writer that could have been the worst. It was the worst thing that ever happened to him. It was like the outrage that they would run out of jumbo shrimp at this Super Bowl party. They had everything else, but damn it, that jumbo shrimp, he missed out on it, and damn the NFL for not supplying enough jumbo shrimp for these hardworking journalists.
I got to
Brian Schmidt. It was Brian Schmidt.
No, it wasn't Brian. Brian was a workout guy. That's what's it? Spurrier used to call those people workout guys. Brian didn't fit that mold. Although we did have an interesting press box moment in Boston when the Magic were playing the Celtics. We were in the media buffet thing, and we sat at the same table with Billie Jean King. I got nothing else other than that, but it was a weird pairing of our worlds colliding. So
was Billie Jean one of the first in the line for the pregame meal or for the press box meal?
I don't recall, but we both started kind of humming Philadelphia Freedom as we were.
Now,
a little old school flashback.
And George, see, because you were in Miami for a short time. So how many years were you?
Well, a while, yeah.
Yeah, you were in Miami for a while, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It was always going for the hot dog line at halftime of the Dolphins game or the Canes game, whatever it was, because for a long time that's all we had was football down here. And it wasn't necessarily, it was always to see how many hot dogs did he get. And you and I both know they were always the ones who got 1 hot dog. Okay, they're playing it cool. 2 hot dogs? 2 hot dogs? You got to worry. But then there was... like this guy I'm thinking about came out with 3 hot dogs and brought them back. I'm going, come on, man. Do you always have to be a pig about this? Why do you need 3 hot dogs? And I even asked him one time. I said, why do you get 3 hot dogs when everybody else gets 2? And he looked at me, and I swear to God, he said, well, they're free.
That's like
works.
a Seinfeld
By the way,
moment.
Tampa.
You're like you
Tampa
gave him a hard
great
time about the hot dogs. Why can't we name this guy? What is he? Deep throat?
No, it's not.
It's going to happen if they're going to cut him off the hot dog trip.
No, if I like the guy, he's okay. He's just a slob, but I'm not going to start a fight. Now, if it was somebody else that I didn't like, I'd start the fight.
Sid Rosenberg. No, go ahead.
It wasn't Sid Rosenberg. I didn't.
By the way, Tampa, the Bucks have a great spread. If you're ranking NFL teams and spreads, man, they bring it because they've got the Bananas Fosters going at halftime.
Really?
They got a great spread before the game and after the game. They hook you up with a pizza, and you are good to go there.
Really?
Oh,
Bananas Foster in a game? Wow. I got to get my press credential back. Okay,
last time I was in Tampa. Go ahead.
Okay, no, but let's close this out, and then one thing I'm thinking about. Okay, George,
All right.
best press box meal you ever had is in, so you'd go with Tampa?
Tampa, and then second was when the Jaguars played the Patriots in the AFC Championship game a few years ago. Well, more than a few years ago, they had lobster rolls. Can't go wrong, but lobster rolls is big time upscale for press box food. The worst, Cincinnati. All they did was have hot dogs. That's all they had, and brats. That's all.
No chili?
They had nothing. That was it.
They didn't even bring out the Skyline chili, the cheap bastards.
I mean,
I don't want Skyline chili.
I get it.
It wasn't meant to have chocolate and cinnamon and all that other crap they put in it. So, no, thank you.
I get it. We'd have to do a show on that one day, that the most overrated fast food in America is Skyline chili. But I got in trouble when I said that one time, so I'll say it again. Mike, best press box meal you ever had?
My wife, I had to like Skyline chili before I married her. That'll be a great topic, Ed. That'll be the end of this show for you. God damn it.
That'll be the end of everything. Yeah, best press box meal you ever had, Mike?
Oh, I mean, you could have went to Madison Square Garden any day of the week. They put out such a spread, especially during a Sunday brunch. I mean, it was bagels, it was lox, it was all these capers, and then they had an omelet station, and then they had a pancake station, and they had a waffle station. And I think one day I literally had waffles with fresh whipped cream, maple syrup, real butter, bananas and strawberry. I mean, you would have thought I was at brunch at the Ritz in Marina Del Rey. It was insane. And then I had to go watch a Knicks Heat game that was 78-77. Shoot me, Ed, right now.
The most surprising meal I ever had was when the first time I went to Lambeau Field. And
but Lambeau's good.
They didn't bring in a caterer. Now, I don't know if they still do this, because this was some time ago. They actually had a husband and wife team who came in and cooked everything, home cooked everything, and then brought it in the actual, and put it up on the hot plates. Yeah. So there was, I mean, I'm trying to even think, there was lasagna, there was beef tips.
Impressive.
There was all this wonderful stuff, but it was home cooked. You'd see the guy and his wife sitting there, and they'd say, "Do you want more? Do you want more?" You couldn't walk away without going back for They would encourage you to come back for second and thirds. And we all know that if you were a real member of the media going to a sporting event, you never went back for seconds. You didn't want to be the pig. Come on. Although, maybe one of you guys did. I did not. I never went back for seconds.
I could have been a competitive eater for a while. I mean,
I think, Mike, I think that's
we all need to apologize now to Joey Chestnut for bringing him down, because we've all admitted our sins in the press box.
Every night they had these cakes at Madison Square Garden, cheesecake, Black Forest cake, these huge cakes that people would not eat. I started bringing them to the homeless down in the subway at night because they would go to waste. But one night I just thought I'd give the beat writers a laugh, and Frank Isola egged me on, and Barbara Barker for Newsday was still working on her story. We're giving a hard time because we all wanted to go out for a drink, and all of a sudden I looked at her, and the cake was right in front of me. I put it right next to her laptop, and I just went, "Hey, Barb," and I went, bam, my whole face into the cake, and just started eating and she fell over laughing and got her story done in 2 minutes, and we went out to drink.
I could see you doing that. I've never been in a press box with you, but I could see you doing that.
Yeah, I'm a pig.
All right. Yeah. Hot dogs, and then for everybody on the 4th of July, we got that all settled. Don't forget, YouTube channel is the fastest show in sports. You can watch all the shows there and all the clips and all the segments. Don't forget, you can also pick us up wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Go ahead and listen to us, download, and subscribe, damn it. Subscribe. Please subscribe. We need you, because that way we can go out and we can get Rogaine to come in here and sponsor the show with Mike Wise, because he's all set for it. And if we can't get Polar, or if we can't get, and look, Polar, I'm telling you, Polar, you're a little off now. You kind of ignored me. So we've gone to the Waterloo water now instead of Polar. So there's a competition going on between waters, just to let you know. I'm going to start
George, just real quick.
I've got a box of Kleenex here that if Aaron Rodgers has a great season, where did I go? If Aaron Rodgers has a great season, then we're going to all be crying, and I can give you guys Kleenex. But once again, Kleenex, whenever the crying, instead of a crying towel, go with the Kleenex.
Get your Kleenex, yes.
I'll be
George, we did get one sponsor, George. I don't know if you knew, the monster truck people.
Right.
Yeah. This Saturday, Dinky Danny selling his tear down Chevy Nitro Chevy Love goes up against Big Daddy Don Garland to the stake. We'll turn the Orlando Fairgrounds into a mud pit. Brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers. No?
Mike, if you've never been on LSD before, I would suggest it.
Mike, I certainly hope you get the mental health, kind of aid that you need. I love you, buddy.
You will.
And I think that given the right medication, I think you have a very good high prospects of not only staying on this show, but maybe
couldn't have been more perfect. On cue, he bails out. Perfect. Your internet is being run by somebody this week. I don't know who, but somebody's out for you.
The Trumps, Eric Trump and his boys. Hey, George, all seriousness, it was very good to see you again.
Likewise, my friend.
We'll definitely do it again. On the
on
far end, that's George Diaz. He's Mike Wise. I'm Ed Berliner. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Don't forget, subscribe across YouTube and also the podcast channels. Until next time, rock on, true believers. See ya!
That's all, folks.